like, you lost me, bro.
I know. It's like,
oh my God.
I want bitches in my Bugatti. You know, like.
The fact that you have the glasses ready is insane.
Well, for everyone listening, welcome to season 2 officially of the Connector podcast. Maybe I have some nicer lighting than the last episode if you've been watching. I've been working on it. Not just nicer lighting, a really freaking awesome guest today, Miss Nadia Ali. For anyone who doesn't know, she is the granddaughter of the one, the only. He's in the background. You can see him. Muhammad Ali.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Nadia, I'm going to read this because you have such a cool background. I want to touch on some of these points. You spent the past 4 years in the tech industry as a LinkedIn expert working for LinkedIn, correct?
Correct.
Which is pretty cool. I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me at Joshua Palassis.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
So you've helped global brands grow through people-first strategies, and today you are building your own platform as a speaker, a creator, blending career empowerment, healing, and legacy into your work, and you are carrying forward the spirit of your grandfather, and you are on a mission to empower and inspire others to embrace the fullness of who they are. But you know what I think is the most exciting thing about you, Nadia?
Do tell.
That you were the Wicked Witch of the West in your grade 8 play.
I was.
And on that note, I need to know more about it. But also, welcome to episode 1 of season 2. If you want to share your background a bit, obviously a little bit more in depth than the intro, would love to know more about your story. I know everyone listening would as well. You are awesome. You are a radiant person. We connected immediately when we met a few weeks back, and I knew I had to have you on here. So welcome.
No, thank you so much, Joshua, for having me on here. It's amazing to be a part of your second season. It's amazing that you are doing this. Woo. Congratulations on this journey. That's so incredible. A lot of people say they're going to start a podcast, but don't actually do it. So you are that 1%.
That's true. Apparently 90% of them fail after the first 3 episodes, or they give up after the first 3 episodes.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and sometimes, it's a great idea, don't knock it till you try it, but you're still going, and that's something to be very proud of. So nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And if you want to start, by the way, tell me what your Starbucks order is, because I just got my first pumpkin spice latte of the season.
How do you like it?
I love these things. That's why I don't get them too often.
I stopped doing it. You want to know why? Because in college, I gained about 50 pounds freshman year because I kept drinking those things. I blame Starbucks 110%. Those pumpkin spice lattes have to have at least,
Losing your tech.
Losing my tech. My ears are super small, so my AirPods always fall out. Trust me.
I have foam tips.
That's
so
what
I
need.
Replaced. Yeah,
That's
it was like $6 on Amazon, and you get a bunch of foam tips.
So I do that. I have the very small ears, so that's what I'm covering. Yeah, so my Starbucks order. So yeah, no more pumpkin spice lattes for me. They traumatized me, but mine is just a regular cold brew. It's a regular day. I tell you, I was traumatized. I was like, all this sugar from these coffee drinks. I'm never doing those crazy drinks again.
That's why I do like sugar-free energy drinks now. Yeah. Not that they're better, I guess, but it's because with the coffees I drink, I can't just do black.
True.
So I need all the sugar, and I don't want all the sugar. So
yeah. Have you tried Limited LMNT, the electrolyte drink?
No, I don't think
you'd love it. It's really good.
I wonder if we have it here. Canada's been weird the last few years. We have very few flavors of most companies, and I don't know.
Interesting.
Silly.
I gotta go check it out.
You'll have to smuggle some over for me.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will.
What could possibly go wrong?
But no, thank you so much, Joshua, for having me on today. It's an honor and a privilege. A little bit about me. You kind of summed it up, as much as you can sum me up. But I'll give you guys a little bit more, or give you a little bit more feedback on where I've been and where I'm at now. I grew up in Chicago, so I think sometimes you can hear the accent. A lot of people are like, where are you from? Because you can hear it a little bit sometimes. But I grew up in Chicago. I lived there for 25 years. But I went to Notre Dame for college. Woo, go Irish. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I studied anthropology there because I was just so fascinated with the history of human behavior and learning more about like why people react a certain way or why we have certain traditions that we have. So I studied anthropology and then went into digital marketing. Who would have thunk? So one thing that I never knew was with anthropology. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I know that I love it. And fortunately had parents who respected that, So I ended up going to digital marketing because of the psychological aspect of anthropology. They saw a connection between the skills, right? Between digital marketing and anthropology and the study of human behavior. So I went to digital marketing. I really enjoyed it. Helped also clients kind of understand the value of their different content that they have going on across different platforms. So I was really a data analyst there. And then I found myself going into LinkedIn. They were like, you have the skills. You may not have the experience yet, but you definitely have the skills. And they hired me to help businesses, larger global corporations, grow their employee headcount, but in a more strategic fashion. So I kind of just gave them data-driven insights around what they're doing right, what they could be doing better, and then help them grow there. And then I went into sales. And then once I was in sales, what's really funny is I realized I loved talking to people. Like that's when I noticed, I was like, oh, this is actually so fun. I love getting on the phone. I love like just building relationships with people. Like most of the time when I was on calls for sales, we didn't even talk about the product. It was like, hey girl, what are you doing? How have you been? And I enjoyed that. And then once I started going into sales, I started seeing more opportunities for public speaking opening up. And I started loving that. So like my career journey has been quite interesting. I'll tell you, it's been like, I never would have thought I'd be on a stage. Like I just did an event this past weekend, just talking to people about my journey in life and how I'm navigating my legacy today. It's been fun.
I have a real question that I think a real question. I think all questions are real questions. I have a real deep question. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a fake question for you. And I think this is a hiccup for a lot of people that are getting started in this entrepreneurial journey, sales journey, whatever. Oh, Nadia, well, you speak so well naturally. Like, how could I possibly? Were you always just so eloquent with your words, or did it take a lot of intentional chiseling, carving of your verbiage, of your lingo, of your knowledge, reading books, podcasts? Give me an insight into how because you and I, we're young. I'm 30. I think you're a little bit younger than me, but we have so much of a ways to go in terms of our evolution. I consider you very high level already, being so young. But give me some insight into, and for those listening that are like, well, you guys are just both naturally that way. I am not. I will tell you that. I might have some natural charisma, but trust me, I slurred my words. I sounded like a moron for a long time. But it's not about me. It's about you. So
No,
would love to know insight into that growth.
Yes. And there was a book, and I cannot think of it right now. Grit, excuse me. It's the book Grit. Have you ever read that book? And I cannot remember the author.
I think I have it in here, but I don't remember who it
Amazing
was.
book. But basically it kind of speaks on that, where there's a certain kind of balance between talent and grit. And you can be very talented. You could grow, I could have been born with this talent, right? But talent only takes you so far. You need to have that grit. You need to have that mindset to be like, okay, I want to improve on this. And so I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to take courses on LinkedIn learning about how to be better public speaker. I'm going to watch people who are doing what I want to do. All these TED Talks I watched and was like, okay, I like how they said that. I like how they did that storytelling for this. Or even like going to workout classes. I work out quite a bit, and I do go to True Fusion, which is out here in Vegas. I don't know if it's in other areas.
Shout out True Fusion.
Shout out True Fusion. Even instructors who are leading the classes, things that they say that are motivational or inspiring, I take that and I make a note of that. So it's not always about talent. Yes, of course, like my mom has always said, oh, you speak the King's English. She's like, I've always been like that. But you can't speak the King's English and go on stage and just kill it. Like,
of course.
I went on stage in front of 6,000 people and I was petrified. However, I had to study, I had to practice, I had to rehearse, I had to find out what helps me feel more comfortable in that space to get to the point that I am at now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It takes a lot of honing and carving, even with natural gifting. So I believe, even like biblically, we have spiritual gifts, and even people who are, maybe more spiritual would say that everybody has unique spiritual gifts. I think it's kind of widely accepted that we have natural giftings, but that doesn't, and I guess some people would just call those talents. But being excellent in those things, I think of it like a raw diamond. A raw diamond looks like it's a stone. Like it's a chunk of coal. Like it doesn't look like anything special until you go through the refining process. And so I think we all have our quote unquote diamonds inside of us. And I think it might take some time and effort to figure out what that is for you. But once you discover where your natural inclinations lie, I think then focusing that laser beam of intensity of effort and time on those things, you're going to become excellent. I think it was one of the first books I read on business, Dean Graziosi, Millionaire Success Habits. And he said, most people spend all their life becoming like average or good at something they suck at. Excellent people, successful people find what they're already good at and become excellent at it. And that's how they make a lot of money. And now they can pay people to do the things they're not good at.
Yes.
And I heard that and I was like, wait, that makes so much sense.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And when you mentioned diamonds and having to refine it and go through the process, I've always told myself, anytime I felt any kind of pressure, I said, diamonds are made under pressure. It's fine.
There you go.
It's fine. How do you think that they go from that stone to this beautiful, shiny, beautiful thing? You need a little bit of pressure. You need a little bit of work. You got to trust the process.
Right. Well, and you think about anything, right? I always think of the image of a sword being forged. Have you ever seen that process?
Yes.
Where they heat the steel till it's red hot. Depending what kind, if they're making like Damascus steel, they got to fold it on itself like a million times and then stretch it out and then put it in that big poof, 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 that big, that automatic hydraulic press. The poof, poof, poof. And then once they've beaten that thing to a pulp, then they heat it up again. And then they put it in the oil to quench it. And then they have to put it in the grinder. And then they have to put it in. And it goes through this, like the metal goes through this traumatic process where ultimately then it's sanded on 5,000 grit, 10,000 grit, 15,000 grit sandpaper. And then it becomes this shiny, reflective, engraved, and especially if they want to be all fancy, they put some gold flakes in there. They make a really fancy, handle. My point being in this process, my point being is in order to become a weapon, the metal needs to go through trials and tribulation and trauma, and it's forged into a weapon. It's not metal just isn't. Yeah, metal's not ready for battle just because it's metal.
Right.
So you're not ready for a stage. You're not ready for excellence. You're not ready for wealth just because you have a natural gifting. You got to now go through that forging process. Boom. Right. End the podcast.
Right. Mic drop. Mic drop. But absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me one thing I always like hearing from successful people I admire, people who are going through that. I think we're always going through a refining process of sorts. What's maybe one of the biggest lessons you've taken from one of your, you don't have to get into specifics on like what the refining process looked like. Maybe it was emotional, personal, whatever. But what was one of the biggest lessons you've taken from your most recent refining process?
So I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to answer your question, but add to it. There are lessons. There are certain values that I take from my grandfather that are also lessons I'm learning right now. And the most recent one is related to some of the values he's taught me. So one of them that I think is one of the most important lessons to me is authenticity. No matter what. My grandfather has showed it when he was, when I was a kid and I saw him, show it throughout the world. I heard about it after he passed. And just even through history, like something that really stands out to me was when, which I think stands out to most people in the world right now or in general, is when he refused to fight in the Vietnam War because he believed in his faith, and his faith do not kill, very point blank period. And he lost everything. He lost his boxing titles. He was not able to fight, banned from boxing for nearly 4 years. And he didn't care because he stuck to what he truly believed in, even though the world, like half of the world hated him for it, I feel like those are lessons I recently learned and I'm still learning, of how to be true to myself no matter what. And so one of my most recent lessons was, how do I do that? How do I find my true north? There's no book on being like, oh, if somebody says this, say no. Like, there's no kind of guidebook there, but at least I had
Right.
him to inspire me of like, no matter what, stick to what you truly believe in. So what I had to do was really kind of sit down and say, okay, what are my top 3 values in life? Because that will be my true north. If somebody asks me to do something that's against at least one of those 3, it's a no for me, dog. I'm not doing it, and
Mm.
it's hard because this world is so loud, and sometimes you're navigating it just like everybody else. We're around the same age, right? So sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should do this or not do this. Like, how to make a decision. I'd like making informed decisions. And so for me, getting those 3 values and making sure that everything that I do is aligned with that has been the toughest, but most recent lesson I've learned that also resonates with what my grandfather would believe in.
Yeah. And what are those 3 values, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, faith, freedom, and family.
I love it. And what do you think about, what if, let's say you had a list of 10 and something, let's say number 6 is friends, but number 1 is faith. If you had to do something that would hurt number 6 in order to prioritize number 1, like, in other words, it might hurt your friends, but it's sticking to your faith. Do you believe in having kind of a hierarchy of values? Yes. Where I actually need this one because I will sacrifice everything else for my faith, if that's number 1. Yeah. I will sacrifice everything else for my family, but not my faith. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that's an excellent point. So I do have a hierarchy. So faith would always be first for me. So if, let's say, and usually you want them all to be aligned, right? But so like if, for example, if my friends for whatever reason are doing something that's going against my faith, it'd be disappointing because you'd be like, well, I thought you were my friend, but now it makes it seem like you're not because you're going against my faith, right? But I do think there's a hierarchy there where faith is first, family is kind of second there, and I'd say freedom is third. It's tough to say freedom is third because freedom is, priceless, but yes, I definitely would prioritize certain values over others, because that would be the best way for me to actually make a decision, because there will be a time where it comes to that, right? And I actually just had a friend, oh my gosh, I just had a friend who actually kind of disrespected my faith, so I couldn't be friends with her anymore, but it was a tough decision for me to make because I was like, well, you're super cool and I've been friends with you for a very long time, but you're disrespecting something I really, truly value. And so, yeah, it's just like, that was the only way, because before I'm like, life's so hard. How do you decide, like what to prioritize? And this was the best way for me, and no matter what, I always feel kind of, I feel very sure of that decision now since it's so clear.
That's good. Most people I don't think are going to move on, or they don't move on in their life because they're not willing to make those value-based decisions. And then they're always compromising. They're never deciding, right? Like I've said this before, the word decide means to murder the alternative. Like side is the root of the word like murder. Like so homicide, infanticide, patricide. Side is to kill. Suicide. Yeah. D is the... Wait, put out now. Is that a thing on YouTube?
Yeah.
Whenever people use those funny terms to like refer to something, they'll be like
grape.
Yeah, grape. or he unalived himself. That's what they say.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard that.
And I'm like, do we really need to do that to like not be censored? Whatever. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. And then D, the word, the prefix D, I think is like to choose, right? So you're choosing to murder the alternative type of thing. So I always think like if you're always compromising, and that's friends, that's values, that's, whatever. Well, this job makes me lie to my clients, but it pays me good. Well, are you ever going to truly be a successful person if you're always compromising your values to make a paycheck? I think you're always going to, and that's why I also believe the enemy of great is good. Just good enough that you'll never get out of your comfort zone enough to be great. And I mean, you have literally a legacy of greatness in your family. And I'm curious, actually, I'd love to know, I know we've talked about this personally a little bit, but anyone who is a child, a grandchild, just in the family lineage of a great name like Muhammad Ali, you could kind of just ride the coattails and do whatever you want. Probably you could really milk it, and but the reason we're talking today, and the reason I admire you and I like you so much, is you actually have this mission to stand on the shoulders of your grandfather, but to go so much further and beyond by leveraging that legacy. And I hate this idea of feeling ashamed for what your forefathers have done for you, especially if it's been positive. I think it's so, like, I want to build that kind of a legacy for my children, my grandchildren. I don't want them to feel ashamed or to feel like embarrassed that their grandfather was a wealthy, well-known man. I want that to be a stepping stool for them. So tell me a little bit about when you decided, I'm going to use this name and let it be a launch pad for my own journey.
Yeah. That's a great question. Honestly, it's been a long journey. I started off not wanting anybody to know who I was related to. I'll be so honest. When I was a kid growing up, literally, actually, not even just a kid, probably until I was 25 years old, I did not want people to know. When people would ask me, no, I actually am not. I wouldn't introduce myself as it. I wouldn't milk it. No one know who I am, because I learned very young that people would put perceptions on you based on who you are, or they would treat you differently based on who you are. And it was hard for me to decide, is this person really my friend for me, or are they friend because of the name? Am I going to be able to be Nadia, or am I going to have to stick under Muhammad Ali because they know who I am? So I just felt like I couldn't find my own identity in the world when they would know that at all. And so for a very long time, I never brought it up. And then pretty recently, actually, after his passing, I felt like if I were him and I built this space and I built this legacy for my children, grandchildren, I would be pretty pissed that they are not telling anybody about me. So I ended up like, okay, let me see what that looks like, though, because I don't want to be like, hey, I'm Nadia, Muhammad Ali's granddaughter. Nice to meet you. Like, we're not going to start there.
Right.
It's more like, how can I use it in a way that is respectful to him, but also paving the way for me to be Nadia, but still using his legacy as almost a stepping stone to get me to wherever I want to go. He paved this way for me for a reason. He started off with nothing, and built this entire beautiful legacy of peace and charity and unwavering faith and celebrating the Black community and authenticity that I'm like, I can't just leave that behind. So most recently, I started embracing that, but also being like, okay, Nadia, when you do tell people, just know there are going to be some people who are going to treat you different. Just be able to have the discernment to know which ones are real and which ones aren't. So yeah, it was a long time that I did, and it's very recent that I'm actually starting to speak about it. But it feels good, though. It feels very, very good to feel like what he did during his time here on Earth did not go unnoticed, but it's also being passed down.
Yeah. What's the line from Gladiator? What we do on Earth echoes in eternity, something like that.
I believe you. I love that movie, but I, for whatever reason, cannot think of that right now.
Yeah, cue the clip.
Yeah.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
Yeah. Are you talking about the new one or the old one? Like
Well, it's in the old one, but
oh.
I think they say it again in the new one.
Okay, yeah, probably.
What is it? What echoes? Whatever. I'll pop it up on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny. Whenever I say this on the podcast, I always make the sound effect. But then I usually I'll put a fake sound effect whenever I pop up an image or something. But I actually I'm going to probably clip this.
Yeah,
I like my pop sound better than the fake.
Yeah, you should do that. Absolutely.
I'll do a few takes. Yeah. I should start every podcast with my main talent. This is what I want to be. This is the legacy I'm leaving.
Yeah.
No, my main talent is my throat singing.
Really?
I'm not even going to do it.
Oh my gosh, Joshua. No. You should make that your theme song and do a whole throat singing. That would
Okay, yeah,
catch
we'll
me
do.
immediately.
It'd just be people are gonna think it's some like Mongolian podcast, and then it's just me. Hey guys.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
All right, there. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, but thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting, right? I remember when growing up, my family was like middle class, and like all my friends were poor. So I was the rich one, even though we're not rich compared to other rich friends I had. But then we would always hang out at my house. My parents would feed all my friends. Like they all had broken homes. I was like one of the only ones that had two parents, pretty much, and because my mom was a pharmacist, my dad was a steel worker, ended up getting an injury that kind of made him bedridden for my whole childhood. But, he got some pension money and whatnot. So essentially, one medical professional, one blue collar worker, and that was enough 20 something years ago to have like a good Canadian middle class suburban life. That being said, I always felt so bad about like, oh, I didn't want to show that I got new shoes or that I got, and I'm an only child, by the way, as well. So because of that, on top of all of it, you know what, Nadia, don't worry about it. No, but so I was always so scared to like come off as spoiled or come off as this or come off, and I would always, because I was, like I said, a lot of my friends that I hang out with, for whatever reason, happen to be typically a little more lower income than my family, plus typically one parent income, so that's part of it. And yeah, it took me a long time to be like, no, my dad came from Greece, with nothing, from a village, and did the best he could, and his family, and my mom's dad came from a small village in the mountains of Italy and came to Canada. And actually, even though he spoke Italian and my grandma spoke French, they were French and an Italian, which, by the way, he hated the French and then married one.
Wow.
So I
love it.
So, but then he raised his kids, aka my mom and her brothers. He said, we're not speaking Italian, we're not speaking French, we're speaking English because we're a Canadian household. Okay. And mind you, it would have been nice if I could speak other languages. I was
going to say, yeah.
But I get the commitment, and that's like when people talk about immigration or they talk about this and that, I don't think anybody, and by the way, I'm not stating an opinion here, but all I'm saying is, I mean, even if I was, I don't care. I state a lot of opinions, but
as you should.
I don't think anybody has a problem with an immigrant coming to America or Canada that has that kind of mindset, that kind of gratitude. I came here to better my family. I'm going to work my tail off. I speak English. I value the culture. I'm going to participate. I'm going to assimilate. Like, welcome to America. Welcome to Canada. That is what these countries were designed to do and thrived for a long time. They had their problems. They'll always have their problems. We live in an imperfect world with imperfect people at the helm.
Yeah.
Until God himself governs the earth.
Yeah, right.
Then we're all screwed. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think America and Canada have done very well. So anyways, all that aside, going back to the point, I love that you are taking that legacy on as with pride and in the good sense of the word, right? Being proud of your grandfather and grateful for what he was able to achieve, and then stepping on that and moving or leaning on that to help you step to new heights. So I'm proud of you for discovering that.
Thank you. It's great because it's also kind of like when you were speaking about money and passing that down. People, I feel like, often think about legacy as money. Like, okay, I need to build this business and be able to leave my kids some money, but like, I won't, I don't think of it like that anymore, because some lessons that you learn or values that you are taught from your parents or your great grandparents or your, grandparents, those values will stick with you and your family forever. Money, may not last as long. So it's definitely something that I was like, all right, let's tap into it. Let's be proud of it. Let's use it. I mean, I hate the word to use, but to embrace it.
Okay. This is reminding me of something I want your opinion on.
Please.
Do you think you want a family at some point?
Absolutely.
So would you rather give your kids a massive inheritance that you've built, or teach them to become the entrepreneurs, the wealth builders they would need to be to not only take on your legacy and then move even from there, but actually continue to build? Would you rather teach them and not give them a dime, or give them all the money and not teach them anything?
See, Joshua, you're talking to a Black person now. You understand that?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were Japanese.
Hey, listen, that's actually not funny. So many people think that I'm mixed. Like, people think I'm like Asian and black. But anyway, I'm absolutely no brainer going to rather teach them the skills to become an entrepreneur than give them inheritance. And I don't care if people disagree. Obviously, I want both to be like, here's money, but I want you to work for it. But I do believe having the skill goes a long way. Just giving the money, they don't understand the value of it. They don't understand the work that was put in to get that money or build that skill. Like if I'm out here whooping my own butt, figuring out how to pave my own way to become an entrepreneur, the skills that I learn along the way, along that journey are invaluable. And they won't be able to learn that if I just say, here you go, live a beautiful life, go to Cabo, travel. I did this for you. No. No, you're working for it. If you want to go to Cabo, I want you mowing the lawn every day.
Okay, I don't know if you watch TikTok or Instagram Reels,
Sometimes.
but do you know who the 𝗖𝗄_𝗁𝘁 people are?
No.
Amalfi Jets is calling.
Oh, I got to send you this page.
Please do.
It's essentially this guy, Colin, he's the CEO. I don't know how much of this is actually real and how much of it is like skits for TikTok. I think it's real, and they just record a lot of their calls, but the clients that will call in, they have these like recurring characters, and I guess they're okay with it because they're always on TikTok.
Okay.
But it's like this super spoiled girl who's like, they won't give me the money for the jet, but I need to fly to Morocco this weekend. And you seen these?
Hi, McKenna. How are you?
I'm okay. I want to book a flight to London.
You're gonna go from Geneva. Is that where you are? Cost here for the one way is about $30,000.
No, yes, I know what
he's
you're
like-
talking about, and yes, absolutely not.
And he's like, okay, how much of a, what size jet do you want? I want the biggest one because Taylor's also flying, and I want her to look bad when we both get to the runway, and I want to look better. And it's like, and by the way, the cost of that flight from Paris to Morocco is like, it's like, 75,000 USD for the flight, if not more. And she's like, yeah, just put it on daddy's card.
Oh, see?
What are you,
Wait,
like, Emirates money?
would be
Is this
gone.
like-
All of the money that I built would be gone within her lifetime. And then where's the rest of my legacy? Gone.
I probably lost 2 subscribers just by using that voice.
We can lose 2.
I'm gonna unsubscribe from myself using that voice. No.
I loved the voice.
Oh, man, but I'm with you 100%. That's why I asked it. I figure we're probably on the same page. But okay, let's get into this a little bit because I can't really speak on this because I'm not black.
Really?
I don't know if anybody can tell. I know this is more of a topic of conversation in the U.S. primarily because we have a fraction of your population. But as a young black entrepreneur in 2025 with everything going on when it comes to politics, wokeness, this, that, the other, talks about reparations, talks about this, government assistance, DEI, blah, 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 blah. What is your thought, given that you're somebody who actually helps others find their not legacy, what's the word I'm looking for? You find their purpose
voice,
and find their direction, their voice. Thank you. What is your message and how are you helping young, African-American, black entrepreneurs or people who are looking to find meaning and purpose, but all they find it in is, rap music and gang violence and the music industry or politics or, old white liberal ladies telling them that they're victims or
You're right.
you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
What's your message to when you typically help or mentor or talk to, especially younger folk, let's say, 25 and under?
Yeah. It's actually amazing that you brought that up because there are quite a few people, like my mom will always talking to somebody calling me and be like, hey, by the way, my friend's daughter wants to talk to you. Can she call you just because she needs advice on, what's you next? And I'm always like, yeah, sure, mom. But like, moms always talking about their kids. They're proud, right? And so typically, when I'm thinking about like, those kind of conversations, usually it's mostly about believing you're good enough. I think because of what's going on in the world and, there's some narratives that may make the Black community believe that there's so many people who believe there's an imposter syndrome within the Black community. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be in this space. I don't deserve to be in this space. What makes me worthy of being here? So most of those conversations with those individuals, most of the time it is Black women, I will say, is around how to get them from college or get them from high school. So it's between like high school or college to that next step, because a lot of times that they'll undersell themselves. So it's a conversation around like, okay, why do you not think you are good enough to apply to this college? Or why don't you think you can get this job? Like, let's go into it, because a lot of the time isn't because you don't have the experience or the skills. It's because you're looking at it like there's probably somebody better out there, or probably won't even just get it. Like, I don't even want to try it. And so that's something that I try to do in terms of just like making them believe in themselves. I was there. I remember after Notre Dame, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to apply to somewhere, places where I know absolutely I'll get into, but I didn't shoot for the stars. And then someone had to be me and tell me, do it. You have no idea what you're capable of. What's the worst thing that happens? They say, no, no, cool. 9 no's, 1 yes will be a win, you know? And so that's where I feel like I also kind of go back to my grandfather too, because he did some similar things with uplifting the Black community. I have people who tell me stories all the time, like men in their 60s who are like, you have no idea, Black men specifically, who are like, you have no idea seeing your grandfather up there speaking to these white men like this. They're like, I got so much confidence at a time where I had no reason to. And I'm like, I would
Right.
love to give people that exact same feeling, you know, to have them believe in themselves. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, but
It did. And I have a follow-up. This might be controversial. I don't know. I don't really care. Do you think at this stage that we're at in our countries and our culture, are we doing more harm for race relations and equality by continuing to label Black, white, this, that, segregating people based on skin color still? Or is there still value in doing things that are Black? Because if you said, hey, this is a whites only dinner, oh my God, it would be outrage. But if you say this is a African American only gathering, that's like, it's praised. And I think there's almost a flip. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is it seems in this kind of the zeitgeist of society right now that the common, I wouldn't even consider myself white, by the way. I consider myself Mediterranean.
okay.
By all my friends who are Middle Eastern that I've talked to, they consider me. Well, I'm Greek, right? So, but even like culturally, or the way my traditions are, I would align myself more almost like Mediterranean, Middle Eastern than I would white European type of thing.
Okay.
So I think I have an interesting mix in that sense, where some people think I'm a brown dude, even with whiter skin, and some people think I'm I don't know, whatever. Especially when I'm clean shaved. My point is, I'm tangenting as I do. My point is, do you think there's value in still having Black only this, or white only that, or Asian only this? Or do you think in North America specifically, we should start to just break down the barriers? And I don't talk about you as a young Black entrepreneur. I just talk about you as a young entrepreneur, period.
I absolutely love that question, because that's tough, right? There's 2 things I think of. And I'll kind of give you a background here. So I was at LinkedIn. On top of being in sales, I also was the global showcase lead for the Black Inclusion Group, employee resource group within LinkedIn. So what we did is we did create spaces specifically for the Black community to upskill them, touched on specific topics that only affected the Black community, like imposter syndrome. I mean, it's not only, but like some of the things that we talk about was imposter syndrome due to some of our childhood traumas that most of the Black community would face. Not only, but most of the Black community face that. Or how to build generational wealth. Most of the Black community faces that issue, right? So there were some topics that I do think it was helpful for it to be the majority Black room, because they would get the most out of it. And we're trying to make a level playing field. But I like to act how I want to see the world. I want to see the world where isn't, no, this person is Black, this person's white, you know, only this kind of people can be in this room, only these people. I want it to be level. I want it to be your person, period. You're not Black, you're not white, you're not Greek, you're Joshua.
Right.
Period. And I do think that even when I go abroad and I leave the US, they don't care that I'm Black. They just see me as Nadia and this cute little girl or whatever, like it's not, there's nothing else other than that. I think that's also more abroad is more about socioeconomic status rather than, race war that we're talking about. But I overall, I do think there's importance and significance and impact in having those spaces where you touch on specific issues within that race that affect that race more often. But I do think the way I'd want the world to be is to have it just be, you're Nadia, you're Josh. I'm Nadia, you're Josh. You're just a person like anyone else here. Because otherwise we get into all these issues around, I'm more of a, it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love that. And your answer is nuanced because the world is nuanced. And I think, and I talk about this a lot, that most things are gray, not black and white. No pun intended. Meaning, hey, hello. Wait, what's the?
Did you see it? Yes. That's terrible.
Oh no, this whole thing is just going to be sound bites.
Yeah, right.
But seriously, like whether it's left, right, Democrat, Republican, this race, that race, Israel, Gaza, Palestine, blah, 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 blah. There's so much nuance. And when you become so one-sided, I am this, which means if you are this, I am anti that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're that, I'm not that. So you're my enemy. But it's like, hold on, man. If we just took a second, if we took a second to tell each other why we came to these conclusions, oftentimes you're going to see on that journey, there's a lot of empathy, there's a lot of trauma, and there's a lot of things that happened to you to make you believe a thing. And then you realize when you put yourself in the other person's shoes, shit, I might believe what you believe too if I went through the same stuff. But then, because you've now had that honest conversation, you can both point out the flaws in each other's logic and realize, maybe this is an emotional conclusion I've come to. Maybe we're both actually kind of right in certain aspects, and maybe there is a middle ground. Now, there are certain things in this world that I think are just pure evil. It is black and white.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you kill a child, right? Or you do something, you whatever, like, yeah, I won't get in there. I won't use all these. What are the words?
All the terrible things. Yeah, grape.
And what did I say?
Undying, unliving,
unalived yourself.
Unalive.
Yeah. If you do certain things, black or white, I think that is evil, or I think that is good. Right? Like if you ever watched the movie Sound of Freedom, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
I forget the guy's real name. He was in the child trafficking unit in it was either the CIA or the FBI, I forget. And so the movie is actually based on the real guy and the real story, but the guy who plays him in the movie is 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵𝘁. He's the actor that played Jesus in Passion of the Christ.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But the guy, he's such an intense actor. And this movie it's so heavy because they go into South America. I don't know if it's Mexico or where it is, but they go into South America and essentially infiltrate a child sex trafficking ring, and they take them down. And to see that kind of stuff, it's like, oh my God, like heavy. It is so dark and heavy. And if you don't believe in God and you watch something like that, and you live in this world of subjective morality, well, it's right in your eyes and it's wrong in your eyes, but nothing is wrong, nothing is right. When you watch that kind of stuff, if you don't have just your soul, if your soul's not disturbed, but then also on the flip side, when they catch them or they kill them, if your soul isn't relieved that the evil has been put down, then I fear for your eternity. I fear for where, like, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Anyways,
100%.
Where was I going with this?
You were going with what was the point?
Evil, gray, things are gray.
Gray, black, whites.
We're
in this
the nuance
world.
of our conversation.
Yes.
There we go. We came back to it.
No, yes. Go ahead.
And that's why I think, you could vote this way and I could vote that way. But if at the end of the day, we can come together and have a conversation like this and share our opinions and share our sides and not get emotionally charged and angry just because I believe something different,
but
then we can have legitimate conversations.
And I completely agree with you, Joshua. Like, I'm so with you here. And that's a thing that I think that also frustrates me is that I don't want to make this, very general kind of, I don't like making generalizations, but I do know a lot of people who don't like their mindsets challenged. And I think that's a lot of a problem today, where it's like, I'm this way, like you mentioned, I'm left, I'm right. And if you are right, I don't mess with you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't even want to be your friend anymore. Like, get out of my life. You're cancel culture. Unfollowed. I don't even want to do it. So the thing that I hate is I love being challenged. Challenge my mindset. I want to hear your perspective, please, because I might be wrong about some things that I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so I think that that's something that I wish we could get back into. I know, and I
agree.
surround myself with people too who have different mindsets as me. If I'm only around people who have the same mindset as me, then I feel like I'm hitting a ceiling.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think also,
are your
though,
lips chapped? Like, are they nice and
better?
better?
They were. I think I had to I had to moisturize.
Yeah, I think that's what was happening.
That's not relevant to that, but it's, I don't know.
You just had to. You just couldn't help yourself.
I guess so. I think so a lot of people will say this, right? They'll agree with what you and I are saying. Oh no, I agree. But then as soon as I challenge something about you that is either close to your heart, or typically you're not actually that knowledgeable, and I start challenging, people actually get defensive and angry. So, for example, and we don't have to get into this right now, but if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you identify more with Islam, and I would call myself a Christian. So, if you want to have that, even like, let's say personally, you and I just have a chat one day and we're going back and forth. Hey, Nadia, why do you believe that? Well, hey, let me challenge you, because in Surah 5, this and this, Muhammad says, but then if you look at the Bible, or if you look, and if I start challenging you, but then all you do is get mad at me and say, you know what, let's just move on.
Yeah.
Well, then why did we start it? Because you obviously can't handle being challenged in that area. And typically what I find, and by the way, this is not you, I'm just using that as an example. Yeah. Typically what I find is if I were to challenge a Muslim about something there, if they're getting upset, it's because either A, they know I'm probably right, or B, they actually don't know enough to really back up why they believe that. So rather than actually admitting, you know what, I actually don't know how to explain that. That's a good point. I'm gonna go do some more research and I'll get back to you. Rather,
that's what I do.
You know what? We shouldn't have started this in the first place.
See, that's what I do is I go, honestly, because sometimes I've had so many people talk to me about politics, and I'm like, listen to me, let me stop you right there. I am so sorry, and I'm probably gonna, get a lot of backlash on this. I only take in the information I need to about the relevant news right now. I don't do the deep dive into what our president is doing with this. I can't, because I need to protect my own peace, and sometimes in the past has been overwhelming. But if somebody comes to me and go, you should believe this, it says, pause. I don't have all the knowledge, so I can't be a part of this conversation. I'm so sorry. Just because I don't. And I feel like it does myself and them a disservice, but I'm not going to get mad and be like, no, you're wrong, whatever. I'm going to be like, honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. So I can't have this. But talk to somebody else, maybe. They might love to talk to you about it, but I just don't. And I don't think that people are okay with saying that, because either there's fear of them getting judged that they don't know. Like, how can you not know? Because I've been judged before. I'd be like, how can you not know? Like, you should know what's going on right now. And I'm like, listen, my peace is first, okay?
Right.
Somebody will tell me if I'm
Nadia, don't you hate Israel? Yeah. Don't you hate Trump? Don't you hate Biden? Don't you hate Palestine? It's like, whoa.
Hold on. I didn't realize that we were going to have this conversation today. First of all, second, give me a week, I'll come back.
It's like, dude, you asked me for biscuits and croissants.
Right.
I'm not talking geopolitics, right?
And then it's a whole
I'm not trying to start a war or solve a war. Like, exactly. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And again, that goes into the nuance. You want to talk geopolitics? You want to talk Israel Palestine? Then let's go back like 4,000 years to the covenant that Abraham had with God, where Muslims believe in the Quran that Ishmael was actually the chosen son. Jews and Christians believe it was Isaac. So that conflict started long before 1948 or whenever they want to say Israel began. So, and this is where I'm saying there's so much nuance. Is if you want to talk about that, well, let's talk about it. Is there a spiritual element maybe to this conflict that is beyond our understanding, that is also fueling it? And is there, and what does that look like? And what does that mean? And will there ever actually be peace? And I always think about like India, for example, as a country. For those that are Hindu and believe in the caste system, they believe, and I'm not trying to, shit on India here, but the US could send $8 billion of foreign aid. If the Indian government and people believe that those on the lowest caste deserve to be there, sending $8 billion will do nothing because they will never help their own, because their belief systems are rooted in believing those people deserve where they are. They deserve to be in the mud and in, fending for themselves in cow shit. Like that's their belief system. So how is foreign aid or a foreign culture ever going to come in and fix that? The world is so nuanced.
Today. You learned me something today. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I do love coming to any kind of conversation and learning something new. So yeah.
I agree. Okay, speaking of learning something new, let me tell you this. A little bit of a shift here, off of geopolitics that clearly you and I are both experts on.
Yeah, clearly. Don't come to me on that.
So I went to the gym this morning, and I was talking to my friend, Angelina. Shout out Angelina, big supporter of the podcast. I love her. She's going tomorrow to Texas to do firefighting school. If I think it's at I want to say it's Texas A&M. I forget where she's going. But hey, if you're a instructor at that school and you happen to be listening to this, you better let my girl through. She's a beast.
That's amazing.
Anyways,
that's amazing.
So she was telling me this morning because she was like, "Hey, how's it going? How's the podcast, whatever?" And I said, "Oh, you're never gonna guess who I'm talking to in like a couple hours." And so I mentioned you. I said, "Oh, it's Muhammad Ali's granddaughter." And she's like, and I was like, "Nadia." She's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I follow her." I'm like, "Oh, get out!"
Cool.
And she's like, and then she's like, "You know what's crazy?" So she said, "My grandfather, let me get the name right, 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵, was apparently a world-class boxer that knew your grandfather, and he had to have open heart surgery, and they cut his chest horizontally." And she was telling me, because if they did it vertically, they'd have to slice into his abs. He'd never be able to box again. So they had to do some crazy, whatever. He needed blood. And guess who offered to donate his blood to 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵? Your grandfather donated blood. So Angelina said, she's like, so my lineage has the great's blood pumping in my veins. I'm like, get out. That is crazy. Yeah.
Well, let me warn you. I do call him Poppy. If you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So I will go back and forth and just be like, oh, Poppy. But that's incredible that Poppy did that. I'm not surprised. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵 was his name.
𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵. Okay. I won't forget that name. Trust me. But that's incredible. I'm not surprised at all that he did that, to be honest, because my grandfather, I hear so many stories about my grandfather just doing anything to help the people. He loved people, I hear stories all the time after his death or after his passing, where people would come up to me and be like, you know what? I was at the airport and your grandfather sat next to me and did a magic trick. And I was like, what? That's awesome, but magic I knew because my grandpa loved magic tricks. I have videos of him doing different magic tricks, testing him out, loved it. He loves Houdini. That was his favorite magician. Amazing. So different stories like that, again, no longer surprise me, because he just was always happy to just be there for people, always happy to give back to people, give his time. He always would give his time no matter what. I know how some people, how some famous people now oh, no, thank you. Doesn't like fans, doesn't like the cameras and all of that. Poppy embraced that. He was like, yeah, please let me sit down, take a picture, take an autograph. Let's sit and go get coffee. What are you doing? And it could be a complete stranger, He was never bigger than them, and I think that's something else too that I love about him, is that he just treated everyone with dignity. But that's sick. That's amazing. I can't wait to tell I'm going to
I thought you liked that.
I love it. I'm going to go see my aunt. She lives here in Vegas too. The actual daughter of Poppy. And I can't wait to tell her. I'm going to be like, did you know this? Because she knows a lot.
Yeah.
She knows a lot more than I do.
I'm going to paraphrase this, but the Bible talks about to do things in the service of others and in the service of God in private, in silence. If you do things for the eyes of men, that alone is your reward. Yeah. But if you do things in secret, then your reward will be in eternity. Your reward will be in heaven. And so it's funny that a lot of these things, funny enough, he didn't receive that reward necessarily in his lifetime because these stories come out after. But that's the thing, is now his true character, and it's not that his character didn't come out in his lifetime, but even more so, like doubling down, all those things he did in secret are now just adding to the name, adding to the legacy. And how many times do we see the opposite, unfortunately?
Yeah.
There was a pastor I loved. You know, I won't even call his name out because it's heartbreaking, and I don't even want to draw more attention to it. But a man who really, actually, he, at a time where my faith was waning, his ministry really impacted me, and the way he would speak and his intelligence, and it really got me back on track. Then to find out after his passing, I don't know all the details because it was hard enough to hear it, so I kind of moved on. But he was running some kind of almost like a prostitution ring, and it was like, oh my God, really? And it was like, oh my, and then it's, at what point does the good he did still hold weight? But then, you know,
yeah.
Like it wasn't necessarily, like, as far as I know, it wasn't like child trafficking, but it was such an antithesis to what he preached. Yeah. And it was still, I believe personally, pornography, prostitution, yeah. I still believe that is very harmful to the women, because typically those industries are terrible, even when it comes to physical abuse. Yeah. But also, I think it's terrible for men and what it does to young men, and then we get raised with anyways. So no, I think it is very harmful. Even if it's not child stuff, it's still very harmful.
But I think that's a great point, though, too. And I was thinking, what you mentioned about what you do when you give charity in secret, that's when you actually are going to, you're going to be rewarded in your afterlife. It may not be right here on this earth right now, because you're not going to tell her, but you don't tell people in Islam. Muslims believe this as well. And you could see with Papi, he didn't tell a lot of people the things that he was doing. And things that you do for show, like you mentioned, you're getting rewarded here right now. And people are going to go, oh, so like this guy, whatever he was, I don't know. I'm not God. I can't say, what his judgment day looks like. But it was like he was showing to everyone that he was one way, but he was really the other. And I think that it's better in a way that if it's like, I'm going to go do some charity work, I'm not going to tell people about it. I'm not going to post pictures about it, because that's something that I want God to reward me for. I don't want you, Joshua, to be like, oh, you're amazing. You do charity. That's great. And think of me as this better person, So yeah, honestly, Islam and Christianity are not too far apart from each other. I went to Catholic school my entire life. And so I learned that Catholicism is not far either. There's a lot of similar beliefs in terms of like values and belief in your relationship with God and the afterlife.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Medina, which is where Muhammad went after Mecca, after he was kind of ousted from Mecca, it was a Christian/Jewish city. Like, I think it was mostly Christian. So he was, he did a lot of his upbringing, I guess, in his early days around Christians, and refers to the people of the book quite a lot. And there's controversy and there's debates on if he said some other things that were a little bit more violent against us. But for the most part, I think going back to that initial topic of, there's always, I think, more similarities typically between people than there are differences. Yes. And if we can find where we can connect and relate, then we can talk about the differences and go back and forth respectfully. But I think me yelling at you about like jihadi extremist Muslims and you yelling at me about the KKK, what's that?
We're never getting anywhere.
Does anybody really believe the KKK represents Jesus Christ? See what I'm saying? So
yes,
100%. we could toss the extremes and then talk about how we're different, or we could figure out the fact that we actually have way more similar values.
Exactly. And then talk about maybe the differences, but in a respectful manner.
100%. Yeah. So, I just think we're so divided, unfortunately. And it takes, and you know what, actually, going back to my question about, black only spaces or united spaces, I think there's a lot of value if you're gonna segregate. Well, that's not the right word. If you're gonna lump people in a group to teach them something or to share something, if anything, I think it'd be worth it to say, hey, like, let me go talk to this Asian community. Let me go talk to this black community about how we're not victims, about how we can all be victors, we can have equal opportunity, we can. And I heard this entrepreneur a while back, and this was I think he's in his 60s now. So he was, it would have been like 60s when he was a kid, I guess, 1960s.
Okay.
So things, race relations were kind of weird back then, probably more than they are today.
Yeah.
And his father told him, because I think he had an incident at school, and he was like, Daddy, like, how am I ever gonna get ahead? Because it's gonna be harder for me because I'm black, and his dad said, good. If it's harder for you, then work harder and earn it, and earn that position. And his father, rather than telling him, yeah, son, you're always going to have it bad, so you should always be angry at the white man, or you should always be angry at the institutions, or you should, rather than instilling that kind of mindset, he said, that's okay. Sometimes things are going to be harder for you. And that's just an opportunity to show them how hard you're willing to work, to show them what our family is all about. And I just think instilling that mindset into every community, especially those that maybe have been marginalized or have been sold lies, whether it's politics or whatever, I think that's powerful. So we can all rise together.
No, 100%. I feel that resilience is something you have to experience. So like this father who tells his son, good, it's harder for you because you're going to build a certain kind of resilience in the world.
Yeah.
I know my mom always says this to me. She goes, you were never promised life was going to be easy. God never promised that. So, it's going to be tough. You're going to go through some challenges. But I feel like when you are like, life is hard, I'm black, I have all these things, you do build this certain kind of grit, this resilience towards the world that makes you able to survive a lot longer, I believe. You don't have to necessarily be black, but if you are an immigrant, if you're going through if you're a minority in general, you're going to have to deal with more hardships than the majority. And that will make you go further, I believe, in life, because there's some things that even for me, even not even as a black woman, I love that I was raised in Chicago. I think that I'm a lot tougher than so many people. I'm like, that would not have broken me. Like, trust me. Like, sometimes somebody would tell me something, and I'm like, oh, what? That happened on a normal day when I was 7 years old. Stop playing with me, And I think that's why I do appreciate that, like, tough mentality, like tough love. Like,
Right.
yeah, do it, because there are lessons you're going to learn that you would not learn if I just told you to, hey, tough this out, or turn the other cheek. No, you need to experience that. It's almost like a build character. When people say, oh, this guy was getting bullied, but it built character. It sucks because he's getting bullied, but at the end of the day and further down the line, he probably becomes a multimillionaire and he's running the world.
Yeah. And you know what? It's okay. I love that. And even taking race out of this conversation for a second, to think about the fact that all trials and challenges are opportunities for growth, kind of like we said before. But when you also take a step back and you realize, hey, everyone, it's funny, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, but then also the more you experience, the more you realize everybody's hurting. And so at the end of the day I think this might be controversial. I think those who haven't really been through that much ultimately are more likely to wallow in their suffering and wallow in their pain than those who've actually been through like insane amount of stuff, but have continuously come out victorious. And now they're writing books. And now, like you said, they're the millionaires. Now and it's like, if you could take that first incident, that first heartbreak, that first loss, that first whatever happened to you. And I'm not discrediting the evil or the pain or the trauma that happened to you, but is that going to define the rest of your life? Or can you take a step back and realize, hey, everybody's gone through some real tough shit, but those that are succeeding use that as fuel, not as an excuse. That's, I think, the defining factor for successful people, not even financially. I just mean successful in life.
Absolutely. No, I think kind of like full circle to how we even open this is like, I feel like it's like a muscle that you exercise. Like for those who are, let's say we're training for a marathon, they're going to deal with some rainy days, maybe some ice throughout the year, some, really sore muscles, but they're building that. They're aware of that. They're expecting that for when it's game day and they have to run that marathon. But for someone who doesn't really train as much, doesn't really kind of go through as much as the different, weather changes, maybe doesn't get their massages and, experience what it's like to run 20 miles and feel like your legs are on fire and they're going to fall off. then when it comes game day, they may not finish that marathon. They may be hurting at the end of it and be like, I'm down bad. I can't run for another month. Or the person who was actually doing the work, putting in the work, exercising that muscle, they're going to be able to snap back much faster. And something I like to say is you can, get knocked down, but don't get knocked out, my friend. Don't stay down.
Yeah. A phrase I've heard is don't get a motel while you're going through hell.
Okay, I never heard that one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's so on brand.
In other words,
I don't know why.
Don't stay in it. Like
Yeah.
you're going through it. Don't get a motel.
Yeah.
Like, get through it.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because then it's, what do they say about, what's the expression? Like people who are, it's like whiners or complainers or people going through stuff all flock together. There's an expression for that.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Sure, there you go. Yeah.
That's all I know. I haven't heard of it.
I think that's the one. I think that's what I was thinking about. But like, let's say and then they make groups for it. Like, oh, we all went through this trauma, so let's all get together and talk about it for eternity. And I talked about this with a friend of mine. She's a hypnotherapist. She's in Vegas, actually.
Let me know.
She's near you. She was episode 3 of my podcast. Yeah, she's dope, Rachel.
Okay.
She's in the group on Instagram too.
Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to connect with you.
Oh yeah,
cool.
I was gonna say I'll have to connect you guys. You'd love her. We were talking in that episode about how both of us actually believe most traditional therapy is bullshit. And the reason being is a lot of it is just, and funny enough, that clip of hers blew up like on TikTok. And
Really?
there's so
Amazing.
many comments of people saying, I agree.
Yeah.
My therapist, I ended up giving them therapy. They were crying in my session with me. Like, and it's all these broken, not always. A lot of times it's regular, everyday, average, also broken people trying to help fix others, but through just like, I don't know, just a weird secular approach to reminiscing about the bad things you went through, and ultimately doesn't really heal. Rather, essentially it's a pity party.
We gotta get out that pity party.
You also open up the wounds again a lot of times, and it doesn't really heal.
Yeah.
And so I personally believe there's merit to having someone listen to you and being able to express your feelings and thoughts and having a third party at least one time. Just let it out one time to someone who's non-biased. Like, I'm not going to tell my mom about certain things because she's my mom. I'd rather tell a mentor than a mom, right? Because I want to hear what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, especially when it comes to my 100%. Growth. But then also, whether man or woman, if you have zero purpose and direction in your life, then the only direction you're ever looking is backwards because you're focusing on your pain. But if you have such a clear goal and path forward that the pull on your neck, you want to look back because you're in pain, but the pull of the direction you're on is so strong that eventually you might have a weak moment and then you look back, but the pain is so far away because you've been moving forward. So now the pain, it looks smaller and it looks smaller and it looks smaller. And eventually it's not just time heals everything. I think it's time with direction and action that will heal much faster than anything else because you are moving with purpose. And ultimately, if you're doing things that help other people and you find your fulfillment and adding value and really blessing others, then I think any pain ultimately can be healed in the service of others.
Yes. No. So there's
my hot take.
No, that's amazing. And I'm going to add to that if that's okay. Two things. One thing that always comes to my mind.
No, it's not okay. Let's end the podcast.
Okay. No. So one thing that comes to my mind is, have you ever seen Lion King? If you haven't, I'm not talking to you. I'm getting off this. Okay. You know when Rafiki hits Simba in the head and he goes, ow, what was that for? And Rafiki goes, it doesn't matter. It was in the past. I always have to remind myself of that because it was so simple. It's a kid's movie. And I saw this because I saw it, maybe a couple months ago, but when I saw it, I was like, damn, Rafiki was actually saying dropping some knowledge on these kids.
Yeah, it's a real G.
Yeah, honestly.
Rafik G.
But no, I do 100% believe that. I do think that with therapy, there are some therapists that are very, very helpful, but I need them to challenge my mindset. I've had therapists, trust me, I've tried so many different therapists, and some therapists will create it like a pity party. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you know what? Same thing happened to me. Like goes on. And I'm sitting there like, why am I talking to you? I could talk to my friend about this. Why am I paying you to just agree with me? I want you to challenge
Right.
my mindset. Be like, okay, if you think that you don't deserve this job, why not? Let's challenge that mindset so that you have the tools you need next time when you don't think you're good enough to get out of that. And that's something that I do think that I always look for in a therapist. If they're agreeing with me, I'm like, I'm not going to go further because my past is going to stay right here in front of me, and I'm not going to be able to see beyond it. And that's another thing that I always try to do is just not stay there. And from a faith perspective, I feel like Muslims also believe, everything kind of happens for a reason. And if that happened and you got closer to God, then that's a blessing. Let's say, something bad happened and, whatever it might be. Maybe just something just as small as, you dated somebody and it was a terrible relationship. I know most of us have been through that. And I'm like, dang, like, why did I have to date this person? Why now I feel like shit, or I don't like who I am now, whatever. And however I get closer to God after that, that was a blessing, but I'm not going to harp on this guy ruined my life. I never want to see any man again. I never want to date again. Screw this, because there's two ways you can go about it. But instead, there's a lesson out of that. And I'm closer to God for it.
Yeah, I love that so much. And this is why I think this mindset, right? The success mindset, the growth mindset, it applies to every area. You know how many girls, so I'm single right now. I wouldn't say I'm actively
ladies,
dating.
Joshua Palassis is single.
Anyways, I wouldn't say I'm actively trying to look. Oh, smacked my screen. I'm not actively trying to look for anything, but I have noticed a prevalent man-hating culture. You have to show me why I should even go out with you because I hate men and men are pigs and men are. You think I want to go on a date with you when the first thing out of your mouth or the first thing on your dating profile is men suck, prove me wrong? No, it's not my responsibility to prove you wrong. Either you come to this date or to this friendship with a open heart and an open mind and a willingness to equally give and take with each other, or I'm not going to start it. You think I have energy and time and capacity for that? Especially, aiming to be a very high performing, successful man that has strong values, and by the way, anybody listening to this, I'm not, forget Josh. This is not about Josh. This is about high performing men who have values, who have a mission, who have direction, because I talk to a lot of them. So I know what we generally look for. We don't want drama. We don't want chaos. We want peace. We want a partner. I want a co-pilot. I want someone who looks at the mission I'm doing. Like if you look at me and you say, I'm physically attracted to you, I'm ambitiously attracted to you, and I want to get to know you, then my ideal partner would look at what I'm doing and say, how can I aid in his mission? How can I help? How can I actually help him grow more? What ideas can I bring him that would actually make him more money, save him time? Can I contribute? Can I do some of his calls for him? Can I do and that's maybe specific about calls, but my point being, it's that thought process of how can I be an aid and a contributor and a helper, and also, by the way, an equal. I don't think I believe men are the head of the house. I believe I'm called to be a leader. But what I believe is men and women are created equal in value, different in role. Equal in value being a very important statement there. And so I think when we can find our natural roles with each other, and by the way, every man and woman are a little bit different. Some guys are a little bit more passive. Some are more active. Some are more aggressive. Some are more. So not every single relationship is going to look exactly the same.
We're talking about good, solid men.
Yes.
Like you,
and so,
like
anyways,
men like you.
Well, I'm trying. I'm definitely trying.
Yeah, no. But I hear what you're saying, and listen, I'm for the girlies. 100%, 10%, women empowerment all the way, But I think that people take that as, oh, I hate men. No, I think that the women are ruining it for me as well because of the women, like you're telling me, where I've heard women who are like, I hate men, they don't, invest in me anymore. Like there's just something that I think that really it all goes back to trauma in their experience. They probably had one bad experience with the wrong man and they cut everybody off. cancel culture, completely gone.
Yeah.
I think that the issue is, like you mentioned, everyone is different. And all we want in general as human beings, as social animals, is to find a partner for life. I don't care if, you're straight, gay, whatever it is, you just want a partner for life that you can spend the rest of your life with and enjoy life with, enjoy the ups, the downs, help someone that can help you get through those challenging times. Like you said, a best friend and a partner at the same time. And I do think it's
Yes.
huge, like you mentioned too, of I want someone who's going to be like, how can I help make your life easier or make your life better? How can I help you get to your goals? And I want somebody who
Yeah.
wants me to help me achieve mine as well and support me through it, whatever that looks like. If it's just you cheerleading, great. If like, hey, I don't got the skills, but I'll be holding your bag. Cool. Whatever that looks like. But really just having that respect, all of us humans, I think, just want to have that one partner, and people really get too stuck in the all men. I had too many bad experiences. All men suck. I'm done. We're
Yeah.
all humans.
Well,
We don't know what their trauma
and
was. They brought it over. You just never know.
exactly. And to harp on the guys for a second too,
Yeah.
it goes the other way as well, obviously, where, well, as a guy, you let yourself be vulnerable for the first time with a girl, and then she broke your heart or she cheated on you, whatever. So now all girls are hoes,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
girls are whatever.
yeah.
So now they follow the Andrew Tates of the world, and they just go have a million girlfriends. And this is the dangerous thing is I think Andrew Tate has 90% good message. And then 10% is like, oh, come on, man.
You're broke!
He's like a horny 15-year-old boy that got all the money he ever
I
wanted.
can't stand that man.
And it's
I can't.
and that's what I'm saying is like if it wasn't for some of those topics, especially when it comes to women and the way he I think a lot more people would be like, no,
That's
he's
true.
he's great and he helps young men and he's blah 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 blah. But then he says things and he's just like I can't even hold on. I was trying to put on my
10% for me. Then I'm like, you lost me, bro.
I know. He's like,
Oh my
I
god.
want bitches in my Bugatti. Like where
The fact that you have the glasses ready is insane. Like, do you
These
just
are
have
my
props
blue
on
light
your
glasses.
desk?
No, it's for blue light.
I'm dead.
I got
But yeah.
hold on, maybe I'll put my
Yeah.
But you get the point. It's like
Yeah.
he'll be like, I think young men should take responsibility and they should do blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you're right, Andrew. But also go find 13 hoes and make a harem. And I'm like, man. Well, he doesn't say that. But
yes,
you get the
But he
point.
says something very extreme, and it's against
And it's like,
women. It's like, all right.
And then what's the thing he said recently? He wants like an army of children. So he's like he actually wants like a whole I think he said at least 30, I believe, kids that can
So
be
the
his
next, like,
bodyguards
Nick
and help build his business and help and build the legacy. But obviously you're not gonna have 30 kids with one woman. So the goal is he's just selectively choosing the mothers of his children, not a wife.
You know what? To each their own. I honestly, to me, to each their own. I've heard some crazy things these days, and I'm like, if that's what you want, and it's all consensual, go for it, man. It's not my forte, but go for it.
So funny. But yeah, I do think men and women need to get into this mindset, especially young men and women, of, hey, maybe that girl treated you like shit. Maybe that guy was a piece of absolute human feces. Does that mean you need to now go into the next relationship automatically with a bad attitude or thinking that girl is just a piece of meat? Or no, come on.
That's why healing is so important, though, because when somebody
Yes.
says I hate men, or somebody says I hate women, or women are this and men are this, whatever, it's like, okay, clearly you haven't healed from whatever made you believe that.
Right.
And you
And
shouldn't
again-
be in a relationship in the first place then. Heal first, then find someone, because you're not going to find a good person if you believe that.
Can I tell you, I can't stand relationship hopping.
Wait,
you know how
What?
there's always that girl or that guy in high school that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I heard they're single today, so
And
now
then-
it's my chance to go ask them out. Just kidding, they're already in another relationship.
Yep. But that is also another healing thing. It's like there's, for whatever reason, they're scared to be alone. Let's tap into it. Let's get into it. Why?
It's like if you don't take like take a week at least, my goodness. Like reflect on what did you do wrong in that relationship? What did you do right? What did they do wrong? What did they do right? And now moving forward, how can you avoid some of those red flags in a future partner? But also how can you be better to not be a red flag in your future relationship, right?
Yes.
Because if you never change, even if you, okay, I'll say this lightly and with compassion. If you ended up with somebody who, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever, who abused you, and you don't take time to heal, reflect, maybe get therapy, maybe if, whether it's in your church or it's with a professional, and see the warning signs that by the way, I'm not saying you should have known this.
No, yeah.
These things happen.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's no obvious warning signs. Yeah. But if you don't take that time to heal, and I hate to say this, but how many women end up in the same cycle again and again and again with terrible, evil, abusive men? And at what point can you stop and again take a little bit of responsibility in the selection and the choosing? Is there a pattern in how I'm finding these men or where I'm meeting them or certain behaviors that they're exhibiting? Like, because after a certain point, and by the way, it goes both ways too. Oh man, every girl I'm with always cheats on me or always, is there a pattern? Like, and again, I'm not saying always, but often, if we take enough time, like you said, to heal, to reflect, and for us to grow as individuals, usually we can start to see, oh my gosh, how did I not see that clear, obvious red flag that he's obviously a player and he's a cheater or she's a this or she's a that or she has an OnlyFans.
Right. No. I love that you said that too, because it made me think of and I'm sorry, I always relate it back to work most of the time because work, it makes it so simple. But when I was a partnerships manager and I would help kind of clients understand the value of what they're investing in, I look at it also as dating. So like I'm investing my time, my energy, my money potentially in this person that I'm dating. Let's say it does go awry. Like you mentioned, maybe that's very abusive and it ends. What we do at work is we take a step back. What went right? What went wrong? And what should we continue doing? I always do a start, stop, continue, kind of brainstorm. What should we start and do new? What should we stop doing? And what do we continue doing because it's been working? But if we didn't take the time to sit down and look at that, we're going to make the exact same mistakes as we did with the first program that we didn't like. So that's why I kind of look at relationships as well. And like kind of what you were saying was that if that happened, you got to take the time to be like, okay, what were some of the signs that I thought weren't there, but actually were? Because, and like you mentioned, it's no one's fault. Trust me. I can tell you how many red flags I said, no, that's orange. It's fine. Looking back, I really, and I hate to say it, but there have been times where I knew it at the time. I just overlooked it. Right. But when I looked back and actually reflected on that relationship, I was like, that actually was. What can I do differently next time to see it or make it a little bit more clearer? And then you kind of have to adjust that way. But I feel like sometimes the people who do that serial dating, it's harder for them to sit alone with themselves and actually reflect on that. And that's something that they just have to figure out why for themselves,
My old mentor used to say red flags in dating become black holes in marriage.
Right. Meteors. Also, what did my aunt said something funny. She said, you didn't dodge a bullet, you dodged a missile.
Nice. I saw this thing recently. A super random topic, by the way. And actually, we'll probably wrap up in a couple minutes. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. We went super long.
We were just going on. Yeah, yes.
But I saw this thing the other day, where it's like, hey, if you could go back in time, you would do this. Or if you could go back in time with a tank, you would win this war. And this guy did the most deep dive video. If you could go to Pearl Harbor with an F-22 Raptor loaded with these missiles and this ammunition, how would you be able to? He's like, well, the F-22 would be able to take out this many planes and this many blah, 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 blah. But then it only has about 2 to 3 hours of fuel time, and then you'd have to refuel. But the fuel made for the F-22 wasn't invented until 1985, so the plane would be grounded permanently and then would be useless. So would it affect the battle? No. And then I was like, I've never seen someone like this person took like a week of research to find out if inserting one F-22 Raptor would
have
affect Pearl Harbor.
changed anything. Yes. That's amazing.
And you know those videos where like this contributes nothing to my life, but I've watched the whole thing, but then it's like a video of Minecraft playing while I'm listening to this guy. It's like those random.
Yes.
I'm like, what brain
I know
rot
what you're talking. Yeah, my brother looks
is
at
this?
stuff like that. My brother's 14, and he's just always just watching those random videos.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch Minecraft, but I'm listening to the thing, but then I'm watching the Minecraft, and I'm like, interesting how they're building that. My lizard brain is just...
No, I love it. It's kind of like when girls would do makeup while they're talking about true crime. I don't know why I'm watching you do makeup, but I'm listening to the story, and I'm invested now.
I love it. I'm rewatching Dexter as of late, and I'm...
Did you watch the new Ed Gein?
The who?
Ed Gein documentary? Not documentary,
No,
it's a biopic. It's on Netflix. Ed Gein, the serial killer, who...
I don't think I've even heard that name.
Oh my gosh, yes, you have, Joshua. Face in 𝗖𝗶.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
people say Ed Gein. I say Ed Gein. You got to look it up. It's one of the Monsters series on Netflix, you know, where it had Dahmer, had the brothers.
I've seen. I don't have Netflix. Maybe that's why.
Okay, good for you, man. I can't let it go. I'm a whole movie, TV show buff. I can't let it go.
Well, I do. I have like a website I can watch anything.
Okay. Oh.
And I have Prime and Disney, so whatever.
Okay. I'm
not above you. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not higher in this moral hierarchy.
Okay. But yeah, no, I brought that up because it was just another show that I was like, it was fascinating. I love true crime stories or just like, you know, serial killer stories.
All right, that's the next episode. You and me just talking true. We'll put our detective hats on and aviators, and we'll just do
and we'll try to figure out if we can solve it. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's it. That's our spin-off podcast right there.
Love it.
I love it. Wow. Well, okay, Nadia, I mean, we could obviously chat for another few hours. I've loved chatting with you. I thought this was a really fun, cool, productive conversation. Part of the reason I like doing this the way I'm doing it now is because I had no idea we were going to get into all these fun, random topics, but we did. I love it. I'm sure anyone watching is loving you. So how can people keep up with you? Where can people follow you, find you? Anything you want to promote, or stage is yours for the next few minutes.
Thank you. And thank you for the space. This was so much fun. Felt like I was just literally talking to a friend on FaceTime and we were just shooting the crap. But if you want to follow me on LinkedIn. If you want to know more about kind of some more of my professional work, I do talk more so about, you know, the work that I'm doing with startup companies and my partnerships management skills. Just find me under Nadia Ali. I'll be there. And then on Instagram, I typically use Instagram. I'm so sorry. I do not use TikTok like as much. I got to get into it, but I just don't know why.
You're not dancing on TikTok?
That is not me. No. I'll sing maybe sometimes if I feel a song that day and I'm like, why not? But usually it'll be Instagram. And it'll be probably under your account if you want to find me. It's just NADZZ_Ali. I got the nickname Nods when I was very, very young. So yeah, follow me there and hopefully follow this journey. If you have any questions, reach out. I always love talking to people, as you know, I think I mentioned here today. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Oh my God. I can't wait to hear these sound bites.
Nadia Ali.
That is crazy. That's not my exit
back.
song. Come on, Joshua.
Yeah, I'll remix the sounds into your exit song. No, when I have an editor, I'm looking at the camera. When I have an editor to do these things for me, then I'll be making
AI,
shout outs.
you know, people are making music with AI now. That might be a thing.
That's true. Well, thank you, Nadia. I really appreciate you. We'll have to do this again in season 3.
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
And let me know when you're in town so we can.
I will.
Hang out.
I will. Absolutely.
And bring me those energy drinks or whatever you were talking about.
I will.
Those, limited.
LMNT.
I love it. All right. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Bye.